All right. So you may or may not have heard, but Canada done fucked up. So I'll give you a rundown and then I'll get to the article. But Canada was hosting President Zelensky. And so I guess they wanted to impress him, and they introduced a 98-year-old man who fought for Ukrainian independence during World War II. Now, that should already make you question, okay, on what side was he? Because, yes, he fought for Ukrainian independence. However, who hated the Soviet Union the most back then? Who hated Russia? Oh, yes, that would be the Nazis. So, I don't know. People on the internet were quick to find out that he was a member of that he was a Nazi. So, why did we not do our due diligence and research this? Because, what? Well, anyway, the person who did this, who was the Speaker of the House, resigned. But anyway, let me just read the article to you. The Speaker of Canada's House of Commons resigned Tuesday for inviting a man who fought for a Nazi military unit during World War II to Parliament to attend a speech by the Ukrainian president. Now, even though there was a video and Zelensky was showing his appreciation, he was like, yeah, I don't think he really understood what was going on. Either that or he was like, well, they're doing this on my behalf, so I'm not going to be a wet blanket and point out that he Nazi, he no good. It could go either way. But a lot of people on the right are pointing to this as somehow proof that liberals are the real Nazis and that Ukrainians are Nazis because someone didn't do their due diligence to research who this guy was. So, because they're so desperate to make liberals look bad, because they know that they act like Nazis. They admire the Nazis, even if not in name, because they know that Nazis are bad. So we have to make the liberals just as bad, because, I don't know, it would soothe the ego that makes them not despicable people. But anyway. Just after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky delivered an address in the House of Commons on Friday, Canadian lawmakers gave 98-year-old Yaroslav Hunka a standing ovation when Speaker Anthony Rota drew attention to him. Rota introduced Hunka as a war hero who fought for the 1st Ukrainian Division. So, like I said, Zelensky joined in the cheers. So either he did not want to be a wet blanket and point out that, yeah, not a good idea, or maybe he truly didn't know his history and didn't realize who this was. That's possible too. Observers over the weekend began to publicize the fact that the 1st Ukrainian Division also was known as the Waffen-SS Galicia Division, or the SS 14th Waffen Division, a voluntary unit that was under the command of the Nazis. Now, for those who don't know about the Waffen-SS, like this was pointed out, this was a voluntary unit. These were the true believers. These were actual Nazis. Some of these trials that you see of these old people. They were pencil pushers and they probably had no choice or whatever, but they wasn't that just because they worked in a concentration camp doesn't mean that they were true believers. These guys were true believers. They believed all the shit that they were told about the Jews. Whether it was because they were just brainwashed or that they were just anti-Semitic from the get-go and were just gung-ho to, for any reason to murder Jews or persecute Jews. No one in this house is above any of us. Therefore, I must step down as your speaker. I'm sorry, that made no sense to me, but okay. Rhoda said in Parliament, I reiterate my profound regret for my error in recognizing an individual in the House during the joint address to Parliament of President Zelensky. Which, again, it was quickly discovered that something was amiss. So why is it that you couldn't do your due diligence? If for no other reason, yes, he fought for Ukrainian independence. That's wonderful. However, this is World War II. What do you think was happening? Who do you think was the enemy of of Russia during World War II? Oh, that's right, the Nazis. That never crossed your mind ever. How old is this guy? Because what the hell? That public recognition has caused pain to individuals and communities, including to the Jewish community in Canada and around the world, in addition to Nazi survivors in Poland, among other nations. I accept full responsibility for my actions, he added. I don't know if he should have resigned for this because, okay, he did a stupid, but he's acknowledging that he just didn't do his due diligence. Or maybe he was resigning so nobody can point to Trudeau's government and say they're full of Nazis. Which, as is proof on Twitter, where a bunch of fascists were chuckling it up that liberals are Nazis because, one of them is a complete moron. Even if he resigns, they're still going to say that. They're just going to have to look for more examples. So yeah, it's not going to change the way people who already hate liberals and already think that we're Nazis, they're going to still think that. I mean, that his stepping down will do nothing. Rhoda stepped down after meeting with the House of Commons party leaders. All main opposition parties had called for Rhoda to step down, and House Government Leader Karina Gould said that lawmakers had lost confidence in Rhoda. Well, if you put it that way, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you fuck that one up, when it's super easy to find out that, no, then yeah, how can your judgment be trusted on anything else? So I see that. This is something that has brought shame and embarrassment to all of Parliament and indeed all Canadians. The Speaker did the honourable thing in resigning, Gould said. Gould said that Rhoda invited and recognized Hunka without informing the government or the delegation from Ukraine, adding that the fact that Rhoda didn't inform anyone and didn't do diligence broke trust with lawmakers. Now that is interesting. Why wouldn't he tell people what he was doing? It does sound pretty shady. Like deep down he knew that this guy was a Nazi. Or not so deep down. He knew he was a Nazi, and he just figured that if nobody else knew that, he could give him his honor without anyone being the wiser or something. Forgetting that social media exists and people would figure this out. So, but yeah, that's not a good look at all. Maybe it was honestly like supposed to be like a surprise party, and so he was super excited. So you could go either way with that. Either he was super shady, or the fact is he was treating this like a surprise party, like I'm gonna do this really good thing, and since I want to keep it as a surprise, I'm not gonna tell anyone. So it could be that too, but I'm sure there's nobody in Parliament who's going to do that again. Members of Parliament from all parties rose to applaud Juncker on Friday, unaware of the details of who he was. At least we hope that they were applauding him without knowing the details. Never in my life would I have imagined that the Speaker of the House would have asked us to stand and applaud someone who fought with the Nazis, Gould said. This is very emotional for me. My family are Jewish Holocaust survivors. I would have never in a million of years stood and applauded someone who aided the Nazis. Well, can't say I blame her. I mean, yeah. I would feel like absolute shit too. You punch Nazis. You don't applaud them. Gould said Rhoda found out about it over the weekend. Yeah, probably because all of Twitter was blowing up about it. He probably should have resigned as soon as he learned about it, she said. Maybe he was waiting till Parliament was back in session? Canadian Health Minister Mark Holland had called the incident incredibly embarrassing. Yeah. The Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies said in a statement that the incident has left a stain on our country's venerable legislature with profound implications both in Canada and globally. This incident has comprised all 388 members of Parliament and has also handed a propaganda victory to Russia. Distracting from what was momentously significant display of unity between Canada and Ukraine. It has also caused great pain to Canada's Jewish community, Holocaust survivors, veterans, and other victims of the Nazi regime. So it's entirely possible that Zelensky had no clue. I mean, you would hope he did, because it was called the 1st Ukrainian Division in World War II. So you would hope that the history books taught him that, but considering how old he was when the Soviet Union came apart, it's possible he didn't know. But since Putin seems to think he's on a crusade against Nazis, I can't imagine the Soviet Union wouldn't want to bring up that, oh yeah, the 1st Ukrainian Division, yeah, they were Nazis. Because that would downplay Ukrainian independence. That would be great propaganda for the Soviet Union. So I really can't imagine why he did not learn this. Or, like I said, maybe he was just being polite. But he seemed to be really into it. But he is an actor, after all, so. And yes, I'm rambling. In an earlier apology on Sunday, Rhoda said he alone was responsible for inviting and recognizing Juncker, who is from the district that Rhoda represents. The Speaker's office said it was Juncker's son who contacted Rhoda's local office to see if it was possible if he could attend Zelensky's speech. Which now makes you wonder if Juncker's son had any idea that his father is a Nazi. Or at least was a Nazi. So, I don't know. It could be that he did know. It's possible that that's an embarrassment for his father, and so he didn't know. He didn't want to tell his kid that, oh yeah, I fought for the Nazis. The Prime Minister's office said it was unaware that Juncker was invited until after the address. The Speaker's office also confirmed it did not share its invite list with any other party or group. The vetting process for visitors to the gallery is for physical security threats, not reputational threats, the Speaker's office said. So in Moscow, Kremlin spokesman said it was outrageous that Hunka received a standing ovation. Oh, I'm sure the Kremlin is just eating this up. Russian President Vladimir Putin painted his enemies in Ukraine as neo-Nazis, although Zelensky is Jewish and lost relatives in the Holocaust. Now, people keep pointing out that Zelensky is Jewish. That doesn't preclude him from being a Nazi. There are anti-Semitic Jews. That is a thing. Now, is it likely? No. But just saying that he's Jewish and he lost relatives is not enough. There are some crazy-ass people in this world. So, yeah. It's highly unfortunate, and the only winner here is the Putin regime, which is already spinning what happened on Friday to justify its ongoing military actions in Ukraine, said Daniel Beland, a political science professor at McGill University in Montreal. And like I said, Twitter is abuzz about it. And of course, there are tweets that, fail to recognize the irony in how they tweet. They're saying, oh, I don't see Antifa talking about this. Let me see. You are accusing anti-fascists of being pro-fascist. That makes perfect sense. What the fuck? So, yeah, there's been plenty of chatter. Most of it conservatives who are super thrilled that they can proclaim that the liberals are Nazis as opposed to them being dumped with the Nazi label because they act like Nazis. The opposition, conservatives in Canada, have blamed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, but Beland noted that the Speaker's role in Canada is as an officer of Parliament who does not participate in partisan caucus meetings and is not a member of the Cabinet. Wait, what? So, and even if he was, he didn't tell anybody, so how in the world could Justin Trudeau know what the hell the people of his party are doing if he's not telling anybody? I mean, I realize that the buck stops with Trudeau, but if Trudeau is literally clueless, Canada's reputation is broken. This is by far the biggest hit Canada's diplomatic reputation has ever taken under in history, and it happened under Justin Trudeau's watch, opposition Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said. Of course he would say that, because he's just thrilled that, he can hammer that liberals are Nazis, even though you're the Nazi. So, yeah. Poilievre said everyone in the House of Commons on Friday should have been vetted with Zelensky in attendance. I don't know about that. I mean, I get what he's saying, but everybody in the House of Commons? He didn't say everyone visiting. He said everyone, politicians included. So let's see. He's conservative leader, which means he's probably a part of the House. So is he saying he should have been vetted too? I'm just guessing because I have no idea about the Canadian government, so I don't know who's in what. I just assume that there's 2 levels of government, so I don't know if he's a part of the House of Commons or not. But yeah, it sounds like he's saying he should have been vetted as well. Robert Bothwell, a historian and professor at the University of Toronto, called Rhoda clueless for waiting so long to step down. He waited a weekend. What are you talking about? He said an apology from Trudeau is also justified. I thought he did apologize. So maybe this was before Trudeau did that, or he's just being an ass. One of the two. He should not make it personal. There is nothing he personally did wrong. But the event embarrassed the country, and as PM, he takes responsibility, Bothwell said. Well, that's true. Trudeau doesn't have the strongest image, and this will cause other leaders to see him as damaged goods. Now you're being ridiculous. Trudeau doesn't have the strongest image? What are you talking about? He just accused India of an assassination on Canadian soil. What are you talking about? He doesn't have the strongest image. You're insane. But then again, he is the opposition, so we've got to do everything to make the Liberals look bad, so come next election, we might actually win. So yeah, there is that. But anyway, that is all I have for this article, and I will see you guys in the next video.